Hi there everyone, welcome back again for a new tutorial. I hope you're enjoying my tutorials and I hope you're getting lots of hints and tips from them. And if anything else, a little bit of encouragement. Isn't that means a lot to a lot of people, doesn't it? It really does go a long way in helping. Now this week, I'm going to try something different. Well, something a little different. A rose, a nice red rose, lying on a table. Now I'm using this week MDF board. It's just regular 6mm MDF board. Now I know it's normally thicker and it's normally the marine MDF board which is used, which has a kind of a greeny colour in the centre, but this was just some stuff I had left over from some shelving and bits and pieces, so I said why not use it just for tutorials. It's lovely and smooth. You can see how thin it is, 6mm, it's just regular MDF. Now I primed this with 3 coats of my primer, and I give it a very light sand with some very fine sandpaper. Let me see, just normal regular fine sandpaper, okay? Then very light rough, very light rub, and it's lovely and smooth. I thought it would be nice this week to try this for the rose, because we can get some nice kind of really soft colours, some really realistic effects as well with the MDF. It's amazing how this kind of transforms your painting rather than canvas. So it's definitely worth a try. You should try this on any old flat bit of wood that you have, just for practice. It's brilliant. So I want to try it this week. I haven't used MDF now for a long time, so I hope it does go well. I'm kind of winging it here myself. Right, my palette, my tearaway palette, my regular palette. We're going to be using 2 nice reds today. I'll explain them to you in a minute, what colours we have, when I put the camera up overhead. I also have the most important thing of any painting lesson, or any time you're going to paint, is a cup of coffee. Nice strong cup of coffee or tea. I'm normally a tea person, but I think every now and again I like to have a cup of coffee as well. Keep me nice and fresh. So that's it. That's everything. I'm going to hook the camera above me here. I'll sort it out, I'll zoom in, zoom out. I'll try and get the palette and the MDF in one picture for you again. And I will do my best to make sure that the photograph is in place, that it's not blocking anything. Now it's going to be a very dark background on this as well. So a kind of a blacky brown background with the rich red of the rose, I think would look nice. The drawing on this will take a bit of time, a little bit of, quick little sketch, just to get the outlines, and we will fill in the background, and then we can take our time doing the rose. And I'll show you about mixing different reds, different tones. So, in other words, lights and darks of one colour. So it's great practice. So that's it. Once again, thank you very much for all your support on Patreon. It really means a huge amount to me that you're supporting me there. And those extra tutorials, I hope you're finding them helpful as well. And thank you all for your support on YouTube. It's excellent. It's brilliant to see all the great comments. I take criticisms as well. I don't take them to heart, I'll be honest. They're just criticisms. We all have our own opinion, don't we? So look, thank you very much. Again, and let's have a bit of fun painting this lovely red rose. So don't go anywhere. Alright, here we are. This is my board, MDF board, which I just got paint on. Excellent. Now, we have a palette here, and I'm going to name the colours for you. I'll start with titanium white. I have a little touch of cadmium yellow pale. I have cadmium red, I have naphthol crimson, and by the way, I'll put these up on the screen for you as well in writing, just so you can see the words as well, what the colours are called. Cadmium red, naphthol crimson, I have a little touch of phaylo blue, and I have some black. I also have a little touch of brown. So a nice palette. The darks are really just for shadows, that type of thing. The brown is for the background, and the yellow is to warm up some of the highlights. So that's the story that's what we're going to do. You can see the photograph on your screen, and I am not going to be painting all those water droplets and stuff like that. I just want to keep this simple for beginners. So I'm focusing just on the rose. Nice simple background, nice rose in the center here, and we'll have a go at getting some lights and darks of reds, and try and get some depth in those shadows as well. So look, it's going to be a bit of fun. Let's give it a go. I have no idea how this is going to turn out. It could turn out absolutely awful, but I'm just going to try it anyway. Just something nice to try, something different. I painted a few roses in the past, and they turned out very, very nice. So look, let's just give it a go. Now, I'm going to start with the drawing, and I'm not going to be painting the rose as big as it is on that photograph. I'm going to shrink it down slightly. So I'm going to imagine the bottom of the rose comes across, let's say around here. So that's a little line, that's a slight angle for the bottom of that rose. And I'm now going to start picking reference points. So I'm going to say the edge of the left hand side of the rose is going to be around here. Okay. And I'm going to come right across to the right hand side, and I'm going to make the right hand side around here. Could we go with that? Now, this side here comes up at a side angle, so I'm just going to do this very loosely. I'm not going to worry too much. No, it's probably steeper than that, isn't it? I'm not going to worry too much about getting this absolutely perfect, because it doesn't have to be perfect, okay? Then it comes in and curves around like that. And we can go fix all these as we're going, so don't worry. Then it comes down, doesn't it? Maybe, let's go a bit higher with that. Let's bring it across. It comes a slight angle kind of upwards as well. And then it comes down. So that's that big petal on the right hand side. Now it comes in, comes right across here. It stops around here. And then we have this big petal that kind of comes up, swoops up, and takes a turn like that. I'm kind of focusing on the main petals of this now, okay? The big petals, the ones that really stand out. I'm not focusing on all the small little ones that are hidden in behind. They'll come later. We can paint those with our brushes later. I just want to get the general drawing of this some way accurate. Again, look, it doesn't have to be perfect, but a decent representation of what we're painting anyhow. So let's come across like this. So you see we have another petal in behind here. That comes down like that, and it turns then like this, you see. And the tips of the petals have a sort of a point, a curvy point, don't they? So the corners of each petal kind of point like this at a slight curve. This one comes right up like that. I'm going to follow this one. I'm going to turn it slightly down like that. Probably a bit long now, but you get the idea. Okay, let's come across here and let's take this other petal. Now we have the curve of this petal here where it kind of turns, and it comes straight down like that, then disappears into the shadow, and the curve kind of comes up around like that. It gets slightly thicker and it disappears over there. So this is the actual petal then. Alright, again, I'm being very rough with this. This will all be changed with the brush. We can paint over all of this. Then we have a very strong shadow in here, don't we, like this. So let's just put that in slightly with the pencil so we can see what we're doing. And it disappears and it comes out into a bright red colour. We have a petal here, so I'm going to bring this petal out like that and turn it, and then it comes around like that on the bottom. And let me see, just take your time with these, take your time. If it helps you, you can trace it, or find some way of tracing it onto the canvas. You can do that too. Whichever helps you do this, just do it. Do it that way. If you're not comfortable with drawing, like me, I'm not very comfortable with drawing, I'll be honest. I love using my brush. If you're not comfortable with drawing, then just trace it or something. It comes across like this, disappears down like that. Probably a bit too shallow there. So it comes up like this, and then it turns again like that. Turns and it comes around. Big curve then coming down. So you see, we're getting to the center of this rose here now. Now, I'm going to go along here now and do this outside one. We have a very wide one that kind of comes around like this. Come to a point, then it comes up and around like so. So you see, I'm just kind of working on proportions. I'm just trying to get proportions right, that's all. I'll probably end up rubbing some of this out, but look, that's fine. That's all right. So again, we have our darks in here. Nice dark in here. We have the petal, which kind of shoots out like this. And comes around here like so. And it's generally then just lots of little petals, kind of one in front of the other type of a thing. So this one then comes around like that. We have all dark inside here. I'm just putting in some of the darks now just to help me with the drawing. So I know where the shadow areas are and the light areas are. I can just separate those areas. And we have one in here. Now this kind of goes up into that, doesn't it? And then this one comes down. But then we have another dark in here. So you can get the general idea. Now, this petal up here kind of cuts across. It's a bit wide there, I think. So I'm going to make that slightly smaller. And then it kind of cuts over. So you see, I can change it as I go. Now let me just rub this one out. And it's going to be fantastic working on this MDF because you will see the effect this has compared to using canvas. It'll be very, very a big difference. Now we have this petal that comes up like that, sort of going to a point there, and then we have a little shadow on one side, and it comes down like that. It goes from a light to a dark here. I'm just separating this out so I know where my shadows are. Again, you see, it just helps. This one here is probably a bit wide, I would say. So let's bring it in slightly, and we can come across here a bit further and down. So I'm kind of adjusting as I go just for the composition. I want this composition to look right. I don't want it to look very kind of out of shape. Our last petal then comes up around here, doesn't it? It curves down, almost meeting the top of that, and it comes off at an angle here, and it turns in here, doesn't it? So that then is that one. We have a nice dark area in here again. See, and you can move it around with your finger too to create those shadows. We have a strong shadow down here. Now you don't have to do this if you don't want to, by the way. I just like doing this. Helps me keep track of shadows and things like that. So that's it. We're finished. Quick sketch done. So background. Nice, dark, rich brown background. Now you can see on the background there on that photograph, it's like on the table, but it's kind of a brown, a rich brown. I want to go a bit darker. I think a rich blacky brown background would look nice, set the rose out, lovely. So, trusty little brush, my little stubby brush that everybody is asking me about. It's a kid's brush, I think. Buy them in your local craft store in sets. You can get them in lots of various sizes and shapes. I just like using these ones because they're nice and they're easy to maneuver. You can get nice little flicks, you see, like this, like so. And it allows you to kind of work a little bit quicker and more spontaneously, I think you'll find, rather than using these big long handle brushes that are very sort of cumbersome like this, you know. So look, it's just my personal taste. I did use these very long brushes for years and years and years when I was beginning, because I thought, well, you know, everybody else is using them, so I suppose I better use them as well. But you know something? You do what you like to do, whatever you feel is comfortable, you just use what you have. You don't have to follow the rules. There are no rules in painting. Except of course when you're using oil paint, you tin it with turpentine. Or you can use various mediums to tin it. But I just like using turpentine on its own. Nice and simple, lovely jubbly. Little drop of turpentine in my bowl, and that's it. And of course, when I'm using the turpentine, I'm only just using it to sort of break the paint. Once I get a thick layer of paint on, then I will probably not even use it after that. I will just use just the brush and the paint on its own when I'm putting on thick layers of paint. So the turpentine really is only used, I suppose, just to tin the paint very, very, very slightly to put the background in. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to dip it into my turpentine. So it's pretty soaking wet, and I'm going to now dry it on my tissue relatively well. So you can see it all coming off there, and it's just damp, slightly damp. So I want to build up a nice layer on this background. So let's go into some brown, burnt umber. And you're probably saying, would you ever be quiet and just start painting? So here we go, burnt umber, and you can see how thin that is. You can see right through the palette, can't you? So that's nice and thin. So that turpentine just kind of breaks the paint slightly. It just kind of opens it up and allows it to thin. I'm going to take some black, some ivory black, some burnt umber, and let's try this. So you can see now how this is going on. You can see the brush strokes, you can see right through the paint, so it's relatively thin. But of course, with this being MDF board, it's so smooth that you're going to see the brush strokes. Unless of course you build up layers, you let this dry, then go over it again. But with this type of painting, on this board, you will see the brush strokes through onto the board. Because it's so smooth, you don't have that canvas grain to sort of grab the paint, if you understand what I mean. When you're painting on canvas, the canvas kind of grabs the paint and it builds up very quickly, whereas with the board here, it's so smooth that the paint kind of glides all the way across it. So there's lots of brush strokes, but we will soften this then with this blender brush, or more specifically, my wife's powder brush, which she's not happy about. And I'll show you that in a sec. So let's just continue now, put this nice dark background in around this lovely rose. I'm going to make it very rich and dark up on this corner here, just to create a bit of contrast. So you can see how fast I work. I kind of like getting things done very quickly, especially on the background. I don't like kind of dwelling too long on the background because you don't really have to, you know. Why would it take so long just doing a background very slowly like this and very methodically, you know? I just don't see the fun in that. It doesn't give me anything, so I just like to grab a load of paint and go for it. See? Just don't be shy. Grab your paints and go for it. Now let me see. I think I'm going right here. I think I'm right anyway. If I'm wrong, I'm sure you will tell me. And I can see in parts already it's starting to dry into that primer. And that's what I want. I want it to kind of dry kind of relatively quickly into the board. So let's get some black and some red. The black and red gives you a nice kind of a pinky brown as well. If you don't like using too much burnt umber all of the time, you can use black and a touch of red. That'll give you a nice kind of a ready kind of a brown. Now let's go along here with this. So I'm just going around the outlines now, just roughly with this, just to keep the shape of the rose. And then you see what I'll do later is I will cut into the background with the rose colour. Understand? So just burnt umber I'm using here now. In fact, you know what? Let's take some black. Let's go very dark down under here. Give that a bit of shadow, a bit of shading. I hope you're all enjoying my channel. I'm getting more and more popular by the day, which is excellent. I am thrilled to know that people out there appreciate what I do and how I work. I just love giving tutorials to help beginners to start. Just give you kind of the basic tools, the basic know-how, I suppose. It may not necessarily be the correct know-how, but it should give you a bit of a kickstart anyway. Now let's take some phaylo blue and some of that crimson colour. I haven't used cadmium red just yet, I'm just using this crimson colour first. Give me some good strong shadows down here. Okay, I'm just standing back, I'm having a quick look at this. God, that's dark, isn't it? I might take some of that phaylo blue with some of that crimson colour and go up here and give it a little shadow. So you see, what I've done now up here is I've left all this kind of stick to the board, so get a bit of a grip, and it's kind of slowly starting to cure, very, very slowly. So then I go on with a darker colour, and you can see the darker colour then stays on that bit better, doesn't it? You see? So it's kind of sticking to the board now much easier. Now let's take a touch of red in there. And that's getting nice and dark again. Over to this side, try and cover some of this. Let me just have a quick look now. I might try and complement the red rose, maybe put a slight hint of a blue up there. So I'm just going to clean my brush quickly and take some phaylo, touch of red, and let's take some white. Because I want to complement the red rose. This mauve pale kind of mauve colour I think would complement the red rose very, very nicely. Let's take some more white and some more red. I think just to kind of change it up a little bit. And you see, it's blending into the brown then. Isn't that nice? So it's sort of creating some light outside of the painting. Does that make sense? So I suppose you could say we're almost creating a light source as well at the same time. But you see, it would be very easy for me now just to paint a black background on this. Simple black background. And in fact, if that's what you want to do, you can do that. But I was just thinking now, you know, let's try and mess around with it, try to kind of bring some colour into it. So some dark, some light, some warmth. You know, as we're doing it, let's try and mess around with different colours. So let's have a look at that. Yeah, that's not bad, is it? That's a nice little light source up there now over on the right hand side. So there's something outside casting some light into the painting. I think it's always good in a painting to have a light source coming from somewhere. I think it just brings it to life and it makes it more convincing, especially with a still life like this. Right, okay. Rose. In fact, you know what we'll do first? I'll take my wife's powder brush, which again she's not very happy about. But look, I have needs as well, people. I have needs. I need these brushes. I'm sure she won't mind too much. Now, soften this very gently with the brush. If you don't have the luxury of stealing one of your wife's fountain powder brushes or whatever it's called, then I'm afraid, fellas, you just have to go out and buy one. So you'll have to go into a makeup store or a chemist, pharmacy, wherever, and buy a powder brush. And just tell the lady behind the counter it's for a painting. I'm sure she won't take it as a joke. But look, we do what we have to do, don't we? Isn't that right, lads? Now, let's give this a quick clean, because I want to use this for my red rose in a minute, just to soften some colours together. And that is our background finish, everyone. Nice simple background. We can put some shadows in under here later for this rose. Okay, no more big brushes. I have a selection of nice little brushes here. Synthetics, all synthetics, look, see? Nice soft new synthetics. And these are cheap as chips. Very, very, very cheap brushes. Okay, you can see that? Royal. And it won't get much cheaper than this. And they're absolutely brilliant. Well, I think they're brilliant. They're absolutely fine for what we're doing. So this is all we need now for the rest of the painting. A few brushes. I think I will start with, you see, we have too many to choose from now, don't we? Which one will I choose? Let's go with this. Yes? We'll start with this. And what I'm going to do now, this is, I'm just going to fill in. So I'm blocking in the area. Reds. So we have two different reds. And now I'm just dampening my brush again very quickly and drying it. Right. What I tend to do when I'm painting flowers and stuff like this is I just block in all the main areas with red, leaving the gaps between them, if that makes sense. So I'm just going to mix a nice red for this, a nice sort of a medium red. And then I'll start adding shadows to the reds, then I'll start adding highlights to the reds. So I'm going to get the middle colour, the middle red, the middle tone. Let's try some cadmium red, which is very rich, very bright rich red, isn't it? And we can take a little touch of this crimsony red. And I'm using that because it'll give it the rose a nice pinky kind of a red hue. So let's take a look at that. And I think I might knock that back very, very slightly with a touch of burnt umber. Just to take the brightness out of that red. Okay? So give that a quick mix there now. And let's have a look. And I will probably have to go over these petals a few times to get the paint to stick. Now, let's paint the petals. Okay, I'm going to use my flat brush and I'm just going to paint in all these petals. And for me, with painting flowers, the trick I find is to pull the brush in the direction of the petal. So the very same as when we're painting landscapes, you pull the brush in the direction of the land. So if the land is falling down this way, you paint with the brush that way, don't you? So with the petals, I'm going to pull the brush in the direction that the petals are moving inwards. So you can see I'm kind of flicking the brush in. And that's creating this idea that the petal is kind of opening out towards you and is curving out towards you. You see? I hope you can follow that. Now I'm sure there are lots of you out there who paint flowers, who are excellent at painting flowers, and would say to me, no, that's completely wrong what you're doing, and please do tell me. If you can help me out, I would be very grateful. So you can see we have one petal pretty much filled in. Now I won't do any shadows or anything on that for a while. Let me just mix up a nice rich red again. And just take paint here now for this. And let's go and do the next one. So we have this one, it comes across here like this. And I can actually still see the pencil lines through this, because that's how smooth the board is. It's allowing me to see right through. And it's handy, it comes in handy actually. There, comes up like that. Then it takes a turn up here, doesn't it? Let's fill this in down here. And I just kind of try to find a nice kind of middle ground sort of a red for this. Now I know we have shadows in this one here. I will leave all the shadows until the very end. So let's continue just painting our petals. This is excellent as well now for practicing getting shadows with the same colour. So trying to get light reds and dark reds is very, very good practice for that. So I know we have a lot of dark shadows in here as well. In fact, what you could do is you could have one brush for the middle tone and you could have another brush for the shadows. And as you're going, then you could do each petal with the shadows as well. That would work also. It would work quite well. So let's go down here and do this one. You can see I'm pulling the brush strokes in the direction that the petal is going. You see? How are we looking? Looking pretty okay so far. Just cover this little white area here. And as soon as I start putting shadows on this now, you will see the result. It'll just be incredible how the whole thing just comes to life. Now I'm mixing these two reds. If you don't have the crimson, by the way, you can just use cadmium red and a touch of burnt umber. That would work also. I'm keeping this slightly on the pinky side of the red. That's why I like to use the crimson, because it gives it that red rosy kind of a colour. There we are. Continuing on all the way down, painting our lovely red rose. Okay, we have a lot of dark in here, so this is kind of pretty much in darkness in here, isn't it? So I can put a darker colour in this. That's all dark, so I don't need to paint that. This petal here, we could paint that, couldn't we? So that comes in there. So you see, nice, easy to follow tutorial. You could try this at home, just sitting down, just with your little paint box on your lap, and you could practice this to help you find your colours, find your tones. So there we are. This is a very dark one, so we can leave that. We have another one just here, a bit more brown in that, make it slightly richer. So this one comes around like that. And you can see I'm even leaving some of the whites so that I can follow these with my highlights then, you see, later on. Right, let's see now. I could put in this one here. And then kind of, you know, I'm trying things as I go along as well. I have no idea how this is going to turn out. I'm just trying these different ways of doing this. Let's just fill all this in here, the center of the rose. Worry about shadows later. And I think, let's just make that slightly darker in here. There we go, nice little shadow area. Okay, that's one of them done. I basically just took a little bit of that darker brown that we used earlier for this. And I can soften some bright colours into this then later. Right, I'm going to clean this brush and I'm going to start making a shadow colour. So let's take some crimson because it's a nice pinky colour, and let's take a touch of burnt umber. So I'm going to start off now with a medium kind of a dark, so a dark red, a dark browny kind of a red. So burnt umber with that, and let's just look at the photograph and pick out some darks. So look, I can see a nice dark in here. So let's put that in, yeah. That comes right down like this. And it kind of lightens as it comes out, doesn't it? It gets lighter and lighter and lighter. So then pick up some of the red, mix some of that into it. I'm softening with this brush then, you see? Now we can put our very, very darks in there later. Well, actually, we could do it now. So I'll take another brush, okay, another clean brush, and let's make up a very dark, rich, dark, shadowy colour. I'm just going to take some more phaylo blue here. I'm going to use that, and let me take a touch of black. So you see, while I'm focusing on these shadowy areas now, the red hair is kind of sticking to the board and is soaking kind of into the board slightly. That will allow the shadows then to stay better when I paint them later. So I'm kind of leaving this now just to settle on the canvas while I work on something else. So that's the idea. Now take some phaylo blue, let's take some cadmium red, and let's take some of the pink. So we have a very deep kind of a violet colour. And now it looks kind of black on the photograph, and it is black, but I prefer to keep it slightly dark, slightly kind of, I suppose, warmer than a black. I'm going to pull this out nice and gently, and it comes around like that, and it goes into this leaf, and it disappears down in here, and this all, I'm going to soften this up now into that leaf, you see? And it gets darker the further down it comes. So I'm flicking the brush up now to create the direction of those leaves. You see? See that? Now I'll separate this one again later. But you're getting the general idea with the brush strokes. It's all about, for me, it's all about the brush strokes and which way you pull your brush. No, there we go. Nice and dark right in there in that corner. So you can begin to see it taking shape, can't you? Just very, very slowly. And take your time, don't be rushing. Okay, now let's get another one here. So I can see this petal gets very dark down here, doesn't it? So I'm going to pull that colour into it there. it's going to get slightly less and less as it goes up, you see, so I'm flicking it less and less, and I'm barely touching the board now. And I keep glancing back at the photograph. I just want to get a general sense of the shadow, so I'm going to flick it along like that, and I'm kind of curving it as well at the same time. Okay, how's that looking? So now you can really see our shadows, how it brings everything to life, doesn't it? Let's take some more blue, more red. And we have a nice little one up here, don't we, in the middle? Let's try and get that in. Let's add more red to this actually. I want to make this nice and red. And I'm barely just dabbing with the brush, you see? Flicking it very, very, very gently. Because I want to retain the shape of that petal, the way it's kind of turned in. And we have a slight dark on this side of that petal up there. And it sort of disappears out. And you can blend all these down as well, by the way, with your blender brush, if you like. So that's another one. Let's have a go at this one out here. So just keep it very simple and try to avoid looking at too much of the details. You know, I'm not even looking at all the details now on the photograph, I'm just looking at shadows. And in fact, if you half close your eyes, if you kind of squint your eyes a little bit or half close them, you will see all the shadows come out on the photograph and all the highlights. So that's a good idea as well. I do that a lot when I'm painting landscapes. I kind of half close my eyes, look at the landscape, and then you can see all the darks and the lights in separate areas, and it helps you just create your composition. So there we go. That's okay. I will refine a lot of these shadows later. I'm just trying to get them in kind of loosely. We have one down here too, don't we? So this is just a dark, rich dark kind of a red. That's that one there. And it's quite thin to paint. It's actually not very, very thick, believe it or not. This one is nice and dark here. And we have one, let's see now, we have a little shadow on the back of this. So some of the leaves are casting shadows on the ones behind. And I'll put a little bit on this one back here. Like so. Okay, we have a nice dark down in here, don't we? So that's why I love using these pointy flat brushes, because you can get nice crisp lines with these as well. So that kind of disappears down in there. A couple more here. Let's put a little center in there somewhere. Now, this one kind of softens out again. And we have, let's see, I have that petal there. So I could switch back to this, and I'm going to get another. No, I've no reds left in my palette. I'm just going to top up my palette there. Let's see now, some cadmium red and some naples crimson. Lovely colour. It's kind of a rich reddy pink. It's not as pink as crimson, it's kind of somewhere in the middle, so it's a nice red to work with. I just want to get the edges of some of these petals here, fill those shapes in a little bit more. We have some nice bright ones there. Right. So I'm going to start darkening my shadows a little bit. I want to get really strong black darky shadows. So I'm going to take some, I haven't cleaned my brush by the way, take some black and let's take some of the crimson. So I haven't really used cadmium red very much. For the brighter ones I'm using it. And let's take a touch of blue. So I'm just going to now go along and strengthen some of these. I'll pull it out then, you see? We have a very dark one. This is very dark back here, isn't it? It's almost black. So let's put that in. And this one is very dark down here too. So I want to make them dark, but I don't want to just make them like black blobs of paint. I want to create a bit of depth in the painting. And take some more of that blue. It's a nice colour, that blue. And let's darken some of these down here. And we have a nice dark one in here also. We have a nice little one in here. It's very dark, isn't it? And we have a couple. We can use the pointy brush, I suppose, for some of these ones, can't we? Couple here, very dark one there. Yep. Now with one more that I want to darken, and that's here. And I think perhaps just along here as well. Isn't this great fun? Just tipping away, painting a little rose. Nice and relaxing, nice and chilled out. You know, no pressure. If you make a mistake, you can just paint it out or go over it. No pressure at all. We have a little shadow around the curve of this one here. So I'm using the tip of the brush just to flick that paint around. Like that. That's coming on quite nice, isn't it? So the next thing I want to do now, I'm just going to leave that for a while, just to sit on the canvas just for a while. I want to create some greens in the background here, just to show the impression that it's just not sitting there in midair, okay? There's kind of a star coming off of it, and there's some green in the background. So I just want to create some of that. So let's experiment with this. Let's take some phaylo blue and let's take some cadmium yellow. And I'm going to keep this cool. And let's take a touch of white. So I'm not going to go very, very warm with this. And it's just thick paint on its own, nothing else. I'm going to make a nice cool green for this. So there we are, cadmium yellow, phaylo blue and a little white. Nice cool green. And I'm just going to give the impression of some leaves in the background here. A little flick with the brush, a couple of little flicks, and it's going to be faded away now in the background, so you're not going to see a lot of this. It's just something to have in the background to give the impression of the backside of the flower is kind of going off into the background. It's just disappearing basically. Okay, and this will all kind of, I'm going to soften this in now with the blender brush in a minute. I'll soften this in. Now let's give it a bit of highlight. Some more cadmium yellow there. Let's take some cadmium yellow, touch of white, and let's just give it some highlight here and there. Just very quickly, very loosely. That. I'm being very suggestive here now, very, very suggestive. Now. See? Very, very loose. That's just giving a little bit of shape. And let's take a pointy brush, dampen the brush, take a little black and a little brown, and let's just give a little indication of some of the veins of the flower. And you can see how quickly I'm doing this, so I'm being very very quick with this. And another one here. Great fun, isn't it? It's a great way to spend a few hours in the afternoon if you've nothing much else to do. And we suggest a little bit of a stalk there coming in. You see? So we just suggest all little bits and pieces, kind of bits of light catching it here and there. That'll do fine. I mean, it's only just, it's there really only just to kind of sit the rose down and give it, I suppose, somewhere to end, somewhere to finish off. It goes off in there and off out of the painting then. Now, right, highlights. Now, look, what we could do actually is soften some of these in the same direction into our rose, into the petals rather. Soften some of those shadows into the petals with the soft brush. Okay, like that. And I'm going to start some highlights. Now I'm cleaning my brush well, getting all this dirty colour off. And let's get some nice highlights on this rose. And you can have great fun now with highlights. You can have great fun. Okay, let's take some of the Natal crimson, little white. And I might try a touch of yellow, just to warm the highlight very, very slightly. I don't want it to be a very cold kind of a pink, just a nice highlight colour. Now, up here, comes across like this. So you see, I'm using this now to define the edges a little bit better. Follow? And pull it down into that colour, like so. And this would be kind of generally how I paint most of my flowers. I'm just looking now for points of light that are catching the petal. And it kind of comes across down like this, doesn't it? And if you find your brush getting dirty, just give it a wipe on the tissue, yeah, and go back into your bright colour again. Now if you find that a bit cool, you could try cadmium red. Let's try some cadmium red. So a nice lesson on reds here. Cadmium red is slightly warmer. You can try that. Okay, let's have a go of this. Right, let's try this one. Let's try this petal just here. That's nice, isn't it? And we will define all these again in a minute. Don't worry. I'm not going to just leave them like this. I will define them properly in a minute. Let's put a little bit of real bright colour catching those. This one here is a nice petal kind of coming out like that. And soften this one in slightly. So I don't want to lose that nice rich red that was there already. I want to try and keep that. So I will I'll go back into my shadows with a pointy brush then in a minute, and I will redefine some of those darks, just to separate the leaves more than anything else. Now let's go up here. A nice bright corner on this one. And a kind of nice bright edge, isn't there? Has a nice bright edge all the way along. Doesn't matter if the colours are not exact. The colours don't have to be exactly what you have on the photograph. This really is all just about learning about brush strokes and tones, lights and darks. You know, it is what it is. Let's just have a bit of fun and enjoy it. Isn't that right? I'm warming it slightly. I want to keep the nice richness of the red petals just here. Again, clean the brush. Let's get some more light pink here, some highlights. And we'll define this one here. Like so. Slowly but surely it's coming to life, isn't it? And let's go down here. Just being careful not to lose the nice shadows down here. And it's nice, I suppose, to try something like this, just to kind of give yourself a break from landscapes. I like to try something different every now and again, just to, you know, keep you fresh and I suppose keep you interested also. You have to, you know, try different types of scenes. You might not necessarily be into that type of a scene, but it's nice to try it anyway. Who knows? You might actually prefer it, won't you? Now, there's one area I want to concentrate on here, and it's this. Just want to get that kind of light there as it gets lighter and lighter. And I'll soften that then with the brush, soft blender brush. Okay, like so. And we could even soften some of our highlights into the petal. So it's just about going over them over and over again, just constantly refining your petals. That's what I would say. Okay, yeah, looks good. Now, let's get some nice light on this. Nice bright petal here, twisting down. And it has a bit of a regular shape, doesn't it? Kind of goes in and out and in and out. So it's great practice for trying different reds. It's very, very good practice for that. And I would encourage this type of subject. So if you have like a daffodil or something in a glass at home, just grab it and start painting. See what happens. I suppose that's the fun of it, isn't it? Being unpredictable, and you know, you kind of learn new things yourself from your own techniques as you go along. That is what it's all about. Now we have nice kind of big petal here, and it disappears into a point in here. And now you can use a pointed brush for this if you're not confident with this, for these flat brushes. I like using these flat brushes because they have a lovely kind of crisp edge to them, but you can just use a little pointy brush just as well. It's entirely up to yourself. Touch of yellow in this just to give it a slightly warmer highlight just there. And we have one that kind of disappears up there like so. So you can see it is starting to come together. Now you can leave it dry and go over some of your reds again, make them that bit richer. You can of course do that. In fact, I probably will do that because working wet into wet like this all the time, it gets a little difficult, especially when you're working with reds like this. It can get difficult trying to keep all your colours nice and strong, if you know what I mean. So let's stand back now and let's just take a good look at this. I'm just going to soften some of these in here with my trusty foundation or powder brush, whatever it's called. There we go, just like that. Yep, that looks okay. Let's stand back now and have a quick look at this. We're getting there, aren't we? I would say we are getting there. Now the colours on the camera there are not kind of showing through properly to you. They're actually kind of more of a rich red in front of me here, but because my camera is cheap, so the cheap iPhone I use, well not an iPhone, it's a Samsung actually. I just use a cheap Samsung phone, so it's only like 8 megapixels or something, so the colours are not showing through properly to you. They are slightly paler on camera, I can even see it here as I look at the camera. They're much redder in front of me. But you will see it when I take a photograph of the painting when it's finished. At the very end of the video, you should see all those rich colours coming through. Now I'm going to switch to a pointier brush, and let's get cracking now, and let's get some rich dark lines in here. Let's take some black with a bit of brown. Even a touch of that red. And let's mix that now. Nice thick paint, no turpentine. And let's go in here now and get some nice crisp edges. Alright. There we are, that's nice. We can do one down here. So we're defining, at the same time, we're defining the edges of the rose, the petals. And you can even create some lines in the petals as well, look, see? Just by very loosely flicking. And soft, you can soften colours together, do so many things. It's just a joy to paint this type of a subject, it really is. Now there's a bit of shadow cast on the back of this petal down here, so I want to get that in. Okay, just like so. So now you can already see that petal really coming to life, isn't it? We have a very sharp one in here, which goes right down here, doesn't it? And this one gets very dark then down this side of the petal. So I'm flicking the brush in that kind of direction, you see, up and around. So you can then almost tell that it's going in that direction, the petal. Now I'm going to soften those very slightly in. Okay, just like so. And let me have a look. Where else do we have some nice dark colours? I'm going to define this one just a little bit here. And up on this corner, we have one that disappears off there. That's almost like the leaf kind of twisted, isn't it? At the point. So that's nice, it's okay. I'm happy with that. This one, we have a nice deep edge on this one here. So it's fun, isn't it? It's fun even watching, seeing something come together. I find myself sometimes even lying in bed watching my own tutorials, and I tell you something, it's amazing how relaxing it is to see people paint, isn't it? Very, very calming. There. Now let's come in down here and get a couple. We have one or two. We have one kind of slightly darker shade down in here. And then we have one very dark one. It comes around in here, doesn't it? And we have a little shadow on this. So it's all coming out together, it's starting to take shape, isn't it? And we have one in here. And I'm just going to give the impression of these lines inside here. And I mean, it's going to be very difficult to paint all of these individually. So I'm just going to put a couple of little flicks here and there, you see? Just to give the impression. At the end of the day, that's all you want. You want the impression of a lovely rose. It doesn't have to look exactly like a rose, by no means. But the impression of a nice little rose, that's what you want. So you can see now, just by doing those couple of little flicks just there in the center, it kind of brings it up to life, doesn't it? And you can see now what it is. It's an actual rose. So now that we have most of our darks done, I can concentrate on some of the real bright highlights as well. So let's clean the brush and let's get some nice... Now I'm going to go for warmer highlights this time. So I'm not going to go for pink and white, just pink and white on its own. I want to warm the flower up slightly. So I'm going to go with a little bit of yellow. So I'm going to try some cadmium red. And I'm also going to try some cadmium yellow. Make a nice orangey colour, and then some white. By the way, you could probably use some Naples yellow as an alternative to white if you wanted. Now let's try this. So we have a nice kind of a salmon, pinky salmon colour. It's kind of warm. So that yellow now should really help brighten up this rose. Or warm it up even, should I say. We put it along there. I will then soften it down in a minute with the blender brush, you see. And let's put a nice little highlight just along the edge here. So I'm using this now to kind of separate those leaves, or the petals, just that little bit more. See, I'm just putting it along the edge. So you can see now how that's slightly a warmer tone of that red, isn't it? It's a fair bit warmer, and it's going to really help brighten it up. So the yellow does help. Okay, let's go along here. And I'm just kind of hitting it now, just where I think the light might be catching it. The light is catching the edges of the petals for the most part. Most of them. But I don't want to go overboard with this. Let's put one here. This is fun, isn't it? Very, very enjoyable painting, I have to say. Now, let's get it warm again. By the way, thank you so much for everyone that's helping me out there on Patreon. I really am humbled that you're supporting me, helping me with my tutorials, and I hope you're enjoying the extra ones that I have there for you guys. Ladies and gentlemen, rather. It really does mean a lot to me, so thank you so, so much. Pop over to Patreon if you want to take a look and, you know, see what you think of it. Give me some suggestions if I can improve it in any way at all. I would love to hear that. Yeah, please do. Now I'm going to take more yellow and some white, and I'm going to tint this rose very lightly. So what I mean by tinting is I'm going to put an accent colour on the flower to suggest the light coming from somewhere else and catching it. So I've made up a kind of a creamy yellowy fawn kind of a colour here. I'm just going to put a little bit of that just here and there, just to suggest that there's light coming from above or from wherever, and it's just catching here and there. And this will complement the pink then. And I won't go crazy with this, just one or two here and there. Again, this is just a suggestion. Right, let's take our brush and let's try and soften some of these highlights and shadows into our petals very carefully. I'm just pulling it down very, very gently in the direction of that petal. There we are. Well, there. Isn't that a nice little rose that we have? What do we think? You can kind of work away now on highlights and stuff like that if you want. If you're happy to leave it alone, you can just leave it. By all means, it's your painting. If you're happy with what you've done and you want to leave it at that, that's absolutely fine, and that's brilliant. I just hope I've given you the little bit of encouragement to try this and you know, mess around with tones, different tones of a colour. So it's kind of the same principle if you were doing a landscape really with greens, so light greens and dark greens. So I hope it worked out. Tell me what you think. If you think I can improve this, please tell me, please share. One more thing I have to do here is put in an indication of reflection on the top of the table. So a nice kind of a red, probably a red reflection perhaps. Let's take some red, let's take some rich red, a touch of brown. And I'm just going to, let me just fix this brush now because this brush is not great. Right, some cadmium red. I want to suggest some of that red reflecting down onto the table or whatever it is that it's sitting on. I'm just going to pull it downwards. That's all I'm going to do. Just a loose kind of suggestion. A nice rich red. And we have a slightly brighter one there, don't we? Kind of curves around like that. Now, just off brush, let me pull this out a sec and soften this down. Now, and pull across it. So already we have a lovely reflection, don't we? So that's nice and soft, isn't it? See how that just brought the reflection to life immediately. The minute I put that lovely colour on. Now I'm going to do the same with the green. Let's take a bit of that green, it's still wet on the palette, okay? Let's take a touch of that green, and wherever the green is, just underneath that, put a little suggestion of it, just here and there, look. A couple of little dabs, and then soften it down. And then pull across again. Isn't that just gorgeous now? Look at that. Now I do want to get some dark right in under that rose because it's very dark down inside there. So just take some black on its own, nice and simple, and let's put some black right down in there, and this will really sit the rose down on that table. There now, you see. Nice and dark. There now. Didn't that turn out lovely? And again, soft brush, just soften it very gently together. There we are. Look at that. And we have a nice red rose, just like that. Now, I will probably leave this dry, and when it's almost fully dry, perhaps just go over some of the shadows to bring them up a bit more. You could add a touch of purpley blue in there if you wanted as well. Will we try it? As we're here, look, let's try it. Little purpley blue. Let's take some red. Let's take some phaylo blue. And we have a nice sort of a purple. Okay? Let's try it. Come on. Why not? That really gives us some depth, doesn't it? Just here and there, see? And that will bring those shadows right out, won't it? So what about that? That was nice, wasn't it? There we go. A lovely red rose. Nice simple background, simple reflections, and that's it. Now I think I have a frame somewhere that I could try on this. Let me just unhook this camera here for a second, and we can have a look around and see is there a frame about. Okay, there we go. Let's have a proper look at this now. A nice little rose. That's quite nice, isn't it? Now again, the colours are kind of slightly paler on camera. But I will show you the finished photograph. Let me just swing this around here and see if I have a frame. I thought I had a frame somewhere here. There. That's the frame, look. Nice little frame there. I'll put this one back. And let's go and try our frame on our painting. So let's put this on here. Then let's stand back and admire our lovely painting. Look at this. Didn't that turn out lovely? Go right in here now so you can see. So you can see the advantages of MDF. It's a lovely surface to work on. You can get lovely smooth results with it. So yeah, that's it. Done. I hope you enjoyed that. Let me turn this around because the light is not great. I hope you enjoyed watching that, and I hope you got some little hints and tips from it. If you have any questions whatsoever, send me an email. You'll see the email on screen. You can follow me on Facebook, Stephen Conway Art. I'd love to hear from you, and I'd love to see what you're painting. Send me on photographs of your work, for my opinion or suggestions or whatever. I'd love to see it. And thank you very much for supporting me. It really means a huge amount to me that you're supporting me. And I hope you're enjoying these wonderful paintings. So thank you very, very much. And I will see you very soon with a lovely landscape again. A big landscape. So God bless and enjoy painting. Happy painting. Bye-bye.